Okay, next we're going on to the second speaker of the day, speaking on prevention of sudden death, everybody's business. I know this is one that everyone would like to listen up because it concerns us all. Please help me welcome next up on stage the CEO, Kinetic Hospital, Dr. Adewumi Edward. Please, a round of applause as we welcome the doctor.
I'm indeed privileged to be standing here this afternoon. I want to appreciate the audience, starting from the representative of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, His Imperial Majesty seated, the Oni of Ife, our royal fathers of the day, seated. Permit me to stand on all existing protocol. I like stories a lot because I remember my childhood was full of tales by moonlight, not the one you watch in the telly. The one we used to stay by the fire and we have adults telling us stories. And one of those things that fascinates me is that when you close your eyes as a child and you want to sleep, you began to imagine so many things. And once you close your eyes, you see darkness, you don't want to sleep unless there's light somewhere in the room. I'm sure many people in the audience will have experienced that as a child. Today we'll be talking about a very fascinating topic, which is at the same time very solemn: the prevention of sudden death, everybody's business. And I'm going to start this presentation by telling us the life story of two persons that we ought to know. Can we have the slide? The first person is Nwankwo Kanu. I'm sure that name rings a bell. And the second person is Chineme Martins. I'm sure you'll be wondering who is Chineme Martins. I'm going to follow up this story before I unveil who Chineme Martins is by telling you something that is fundamentally true in form of prayer. May you always be surrounded by the right people at the right time when you need them most. This prayer point is crucial. Sometimes it can mean the difference between life and death. So, we all know Nwankwo Kanu wouldn't have made it if he was not at the right place when he had issues with his heart. Is that not? That is exactly what happened. In fact, that issue happened 1996 after he won the Olympic medal for the nation. And it happened again years after in 2004. So he was fortunate. He will have died twice. Kanu Nwankwo and Martins choose one of the professions that everybody would envy: football. Football is the richest sport that you can think of. By some estimation, it has about $600 billion market value, global market value. And an average professional athlete in the industry earns about, on the average, $4 million per transfer or a year. So choosing that profession of football, both Kanu and Martins choose the right profession. Let me put it that way. So what was different between Kanu and Martins? The difference was that Kanu had the right people around him at the right time. He slumped, and immediately he did that, something happened. People rallied around him. They did something we call CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and he survived. But this time around, Martins Chineme of Nasarawa United, I'm talking about 2020, precisely March 8, 2020. He slumped while in the field of play. And I have a video to let us see what actually happened. Can we have that video, please? Let's look at the screen. Yes. So when he slumped, this is what happened. You can see somebody was trying to do CPR, but he doesn't understand how to do it. So he placed his two hands on the chest and was doing nothing. Somebody else is opening the mouth, and if we watch closely, you see somebody hitting the leg. Now, that is all right. So he had people around him, but these were not the right people because they didn't know the right thing to do. They loved him, they wanted him to survive, but they didn't know the right thing to do. And it was not the right time. So, again, having the right people around you at the right time when you need them most is crucial. For Martins, it was a matter of life and death. The young man lost his life. His career, wonderful career, was cut short. Now, let's look at this footage again. This time around, something similar happened to Martins, but the person survived. Let's look at what was different. Can we have that video shot just before this one, please? Yes. Okay, we seem to be having challenge. Okay, good. You see the young man there is a boxer, he's sparring, training, and he slumped. So this was taken from a CCTV footage, so it's not acting. It happened real life. Now, are we seeing what is happening? Somebody has noticed that there is problem, and almost immediately somebody is starting CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. This young man survived to tell his story. The ambulance has been called, and they are doing CPR. You can see that the leg is shaking because the CPR is very effective. The paramedics have arrived. And it's getting more intense attention. You can see already he's back, even before the ambulance service arrived. So what is this telling us? Yes, we may say that we don't have the kind of infrastructure that we need to have in terms of ambulance service and all that. But definitely all of us can do better by learning how to do CPR. So we are not going to wait for others to tell us our story. We know our story. We know we have some certain development deficiency, but we know we can do better. And we are excited to be part of National House Fair 6.0. And at Kinetic Hospital, we want to contribute our quota to improve the life and development of our youth and women. And on that note, we want to offer 50 training slots. We'll certify them for the National House Fair 6.0 committee. You are going to nominate 50 persons, either from your volunteers or from your staff. You give us, we're going to train them, we're going to certify them so that they can do CPR. I may be a beneficiary of their CPR. That I'm a doctor does not mean it cannot happen to me. In fact, a study has shown that heart attack does not distinguish between people. You don't have to be sick before it happens. It can happen to anybody at any time. What will make the difference is if you're able to get immediate care. So, why do we need this? COVID has shown us that irrespective of the kind of development we may wish for, if there is no good health, we cannot begin to discuss any other thing. And of course, we've seen from the previous discussion that for us to leapfrog development, especially in a country like ours, we definitely should pay attention to housing. So housing and health are closely linked, because when you have a house, it gives you a psychological upliftment that sometimes any other thing will not give you similar feeling. So most of the problem that we have as a nation can be solved if we could tap into the graveyards where our ancestors lie. To borrow the words of His Imperial Majesty, he said there are certain things that have been handed over to him, and that is why he is so powerful, and that is why he's not enigmatic, because he's using those things. So our wealth as a country is actually those people that we've lost, that have the wisdom and the know-how to solve most of our current problem that we are struggling with. So we need to now cherish those people that are alive, our youths, because when we look at our life expectancy as a nation is on the average between 45 and 50 years. But when we look at the global average, we are looking at 70 years, 75 years. That is the life expectation. On the average, how many years will this population live up to? 70, 75 years globally. In Nigeria, is between 45 and 50 years. So once you are above 50, you are just living by the grace of God. Let me put it that way. So our greatest asset is the human capital. And for us to contribute to this human capital, we must appreciate CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Well, I'm not going to bore you with other things that could cause heart attack. And I'm not going to bore you by telling you what are those things that could lead to heart attack. But rather, I'm going to focus on the solution. And one solution that we are proposing, like I've said, is that we'll be training people to have this CPR experience. Then a follow-up to that is that most of us don't do medical checkup because of the protocols involved in seeing doctor. Access to health care is very poor, either because we don't have money or the logistics of moving to where the health center is may be a little bit difficult. We are coming in and offering to this audience one of our most innovative service, which we call a Doctor service. Can we go to the slide, please? Call a Doctor service. This service will make it possible for my old ones in the village to pick a phone, even if it is the normal phone, even if it's not a smartphone, they can pick a phone, call a doctor, and the person that would pick it will be a certified medical doctor. Now, the icing on the cake is that they can speak in the local dialect to the doctor. So they don't have to start speaking English or broken. If it's Igbo, if it's Hausa, if it's Yoruba, they could speak to this doctor by using phone. And I'm telling you that we're offering this service for this National House Fair 6.0. We are offering it free without charge. You can register once you are part of this audience. Outside this audience, it comes at a fee. So we have today and tomorrow to do the registration free. You can register for people that are in the village All you need is just the phone number that they will use to access the service. And once we upload all this information into our database, they have access to this service 24/7. Doctors are highly mobile, and currently we have a challenge of brain drain. So the few doctors that are around are under pressure. So for us to optimize it, we have to think outside the box. And one of the things that we want to do as a solution to access to doctors is to make this service available. So ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce this Call a Doctor service. If you don't have the form, you can please copy this code and fill the form online. You will still be able to access it free, like I said, for this period of National House Fair, which is still going on till this weekend. So with these two solutions, we will have been able to improve access to doctors, one, and the second one, we will have been able to train at least 50 persons for this audience. 50 persons will be certified people that could give first aid and cardiopulmonary resuscitation. So that what happened to Chineme will not happen to any one of us. So that we will be surrounded by the right people at the right time when we need them most. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
There are ways to get there.